Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Balance in Life, where we're going to start talking about money and considering our spending as we enter into the season of lots of different holidays and lots of opportunities to spend money, from gifts to food to decorations, all kinds of things. So I am Crystal Tyler Mackey, happy to welcome you to this session on behalf of Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Human Development Program team, and North Carolina Cooperative Extension. Today, we welcome you and we ask you if you have thoughts or questions to certainly put those in the chat box. Quick reminder, if you've been on before, we said before, your default in the chat box will have your responses seen only by myself, my co-host today, Herman Macklin, and our speaker, Kim Edmonds. If you want others to see it, choose that drop-down menu and choose all panelists and attendees. I'm going to quickly get out of the way because I know our awesome guest speaker has a lot to share with us. This is one of our close colleagues and one of our amazing extension agents here in Virginia, Miss Kim Edmonds. So Kim, I'm turning it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm happy to be here to share some information with you about thinking about holiday spending as we are in our COVID season and just the things that are coming up. So as Crystal mentioned, I'm Kim Edmonds. I'm an extension agent in Family and Consumer Sciences in Henrico County. And to get us started, I just want to ask the question, how do you think your holiday will be impacted by COVID-19? If you can put your thoughts in the chat, that would be great. But let's just start thinking, how are things going to be different in your household? What do you think? And Crystal, if you have any, if you can share any of the information in the chat, that'd be
Sure, I
great.
see more online purchases, less gatherings, fewer gatherings. I see, let's see, less time or no time with extended family. No Christmas parade with a sad face. No big family gathering, sad face. No visitors. Online shopping and less money spent. Celebrations and traditions will look different. Fewer family gatherings as far as the size of dinner parties. Smaller than usual. A lot of people are talking about family and friends not coming over, smaller gifts. Someone said gifts would be money rather than actual gifts. There's a maker. Someone said there are makers. They're going to be making more gifts. No time with family and no Black Friday shopping, no holiday parties, no out of state family, less travel. Um, yeah, so won't be able to travel for the traditions. No Christmas plays. Yeah, no holiday parties at work either.
Well, you guys are actually hitting it on many of the different topics that we're going to go through today. But as you can see, there are just so many things that are going to be impacted. But yeah, I think we'll see some things that are going to be very similar in terms perhaps of how we think about the holidays. So also during the holidays, we often have lots of different feelings that are going on. I mean, many of us might feel guilty. There's also a sense of loss for others, as well as just being happy and excited. And as we think about these emotions, we know that generally when we spend money, how we spend our money is closely tied to how we are feeling. And oftentimes during the holidays, this can dictate what we're actually going to be doing with our funds that we have available to us. So just keep that in mind too as you begin making your preparations for the holidays. So one thing that's coming up that actually caught my attention was in the intro that Crystal sent out, particularly about the stuffing and turkey. That's one of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving. So as we know, the holidays, they're just around the corner for us. And that usually means that it's time for us to, catch up with family and friends and eat some really good food. That's one of my favorite parts. But as we've seen, and as you guys indicated in your comments, that for some of us, that might be a little more difficult. Thanksgiving is the first venture or the first opportunity. We really can look at how we might work and be around our family in the COVID-19 conditions. But one of the things we do want to think about is that usually part of the for many of us, part of that day is enjoying a really good meal, maybe taking that little snooze afterwards, maybe watching some TV, football, or a good movie. And then some people like to kind of rust up because they're preparing for their Black Friday action. We know that that might be a little different this year, so we just kind of have to wait and see. Actually, we're seeing that Black Friday has really already started, Black Friday sales and activities. And we know that it's not just one day anymore. So that has actually been a trend for a couple of years. But with that aspect, it's just something to think about how things are different. And one of those things is that there's going to be a lot of online activity for Black Friday. So, one of the easiest things we can do is to make a plan. So, this is our first tip. When we think about how we can manage our holiday spending and our holiday expenses, certainly it can be stressful, and it actually comes with a plan will make it less stressful for us. There are definitely some benefits. First of all, the first bullet says just plan based on what you can, here is the key word, realistically afford. Um, we all have different funds available. We all have a different budget. So we have to figure out what is going to be most appropriate for ourselves and for our family. Maybe that is deciding on a specific dollar amount and making sure that we put that on our list. And a lot of times I think we just get caught up into the gift giving. You don't often think about the other aspects of our holiday budget, such as gift wrapping, our food, entertainment, decorations. So, with the current pandemic, some of that may shift. It might change ultimately. And when we have our spending plan, that helps us to avoid those last minute impulse buying. And that's where we end up spending a lot of money, sometimes unnecessarily. So I'm going to show you guys an example of a spending plan. Of course, there are lots of different things available, but this just gives you an idea of how you might put together a spending plan specifically around the holidays. Uh, as a goal, this actually comes from an organization called America Saves. And so the key component here is saving. So at the top, you might see that there is a savings goal, but we want to think about these other aspects. For some people, it might include travel, food, as I've already mentioned, can be a big one. Making sure about decorations. One thing that I think people tend to forget is that many of us might have people that we tip pretty often, meaning that maybe you have a stylist, maybe your barber, maybe someone who takes care of the kids regularly. And sometimes we don't think about all of those different aspects of how we share during the holidays. So, one great thing to do would be just to think about all of the different types of expenses you normally have, because sometimes we might forget things, and having a plan or an example in front of us can help bring those things to our mind. So, as mentioned earlier, one of the biggest things I think we spend a lot of money on, or we can include in our spending budget, is really related to food. We will talk about in just a minute. One thing I did want to mention, and before I move from this slide, is that when we don't have a spending plan, we really might end up making some big financial mistakes. It is important because we really want to share with our loved ones or those people that are important for us. But if we don't have a plan, we don't want to forget about the responsibilities that we have outside of the holidays. We don't want to be in a position where in the beginning of the year, we will be in some type of financial constraints because of the actions and the behaviors we took during the holidays to perhaps try to make everyone happy. So this is one of my favorite parts of the holiday is food. I have vivid memories of being in the kitchen with my grandmothers. Um, and I think those are the kinds of things that we might tend to overlook, or we really might miss during our current situation. Certainly, there is a cost associated with these activities. However, think about the time that we have together. So you might be able to shift your holiday the sense that maybe you can provide some type of gifts from the kitchen this year. Uh, Cookies, a lot of people like to make, here's one of those words maybe we haven't heard yet, fruitcake, anybody? So it'll be time for fruitcake soon. When I was younger, that was a job that my brother and I helped my grandmother make fruitcakes. But there are many different aspects of spending during the holidays that relate to food. And so we want to just make sure that we keep that in the forefront of our minds to make sure that we are keeping those things in consideration. So another important aspect of the holidays that I think we tend to forget about in terms of our spending is related to greeting cards and decorations. This can be another really big chunk of a holiday budget, but it's something that we don't often think about in terms of maybe how much we really do spend on them. So as we think about changes that might occur during the pandemic, maybe greeting cards are going to be more of a staple in your household this year because you're not able to see the same people that you normally do in the same capacity. This might be the year that you decide to consider writing a holiday letter. I've received holiday letters from my family members, and it's always good to hear what is happening. So maybe that's a good way for you to think about it. Also, with our greeting cards and decorations, there's the opportunity to save by reusing or recreating using items that are around the house. Um, One thing that many of us might do at the end of the holidays is maybe stock up on those decorations. So maybe you were able to stock up last year and you're ready to display them in your house now, in your household. Many times we might be thinking about different places that we can include these decorations just to maybe liven up the spirit because we might not be able to see our family and friends as we have in the past. Let's also take a look and think about entertainment or travel. Many of us know that there are lots of different places that we might be able to how we normally would entertain during the holidays, and there may be a shift in that. Maybe we don't have as many holiday parties to attend. Maybe that's not such a bad thing because you might be able to save because you're not expending any funds to participate or to bring a gift. And then, of course, travel. I think we all have to make the decision about how we will be traveling, who we will spend our holiday with. But in the event that you are traveling, think about the other pieces of travel that include in your budget, such as airfare if you do decide to fly somewhere, but mainly related to gas and maintenance with your vehicle and maybe the stops along the way that you might need to make. So let's take a look at our next tip, really knowing what our options are for shopping. So maybe you decide that you're going to shop at the store in the mall, but maybe online shopping. When we heard changes in terms of how COVID has impacted, online shopping came up quite a bit. So that's something to really consider. There are ways and things to consider with both of those options. So a few other things to really consider include safety. So, is it safe for you to go to a mall and or other store in person? We all have to make that decision. Many of us probably have just been going back and forth to the grocery store. So maybe making a venture out to another type of store really is going to be a challenge. We do know that just about everything that is available in brick and mortar stores is available online. It's just the experience. So I think the first concern is to think about your personal safety. How do you feel about getting out into the public for that specific purpose? So, if we think about online shopping, what we have been hearing quite a bit is that shipping may be an issue. So, if you haven't already thought about some shopping or some things that you want to purchase, then now is the time because you want to ensure that it would be available and delivered to you in time for gift giving if that's your choice. Once again, that relates to the timing. When we plan out our spending, as we've said earlier, you have more opportunity to control your spending. When we wait to the last minute, it's likely that we're going to spend unnecessarily or maybe spend more money than we need to because we have waited to the last minute. And then what types of items, gift items, are you going to be purchasing? Maybe that has changed. And with that change, maybe there is a higher or lower amount. Maybe normally you would have an experience for your holiday, and that's not going to be able to happen. So maybe you're at a point where you're going to be scaling down. And we don't want to leave out our small and local businesses that we might want to try to support in this time. As we know, it's been very difficult for many small and local businesses. So if there's a group or organization, a business that you would like to support, maybe this is the year to really look at gift giving from them. Here's our next tip. Don't sweat the stuff in your inbox. And actually, this came to my mind after a conversation with Crystal yesterday. We were talking. So if you are like me and maybe like Crystal too, you might get some emails on occasion about sales. I mean, maybe there are different stores you normally would shop at, and then sometimes it's a special item, and sometimes it might be a site-wide discount. So just today, before 9 o'clock, I checked in my inbox and I had over 10 different sales opportunities by 9 o'clock this morning. So we know that that is something that is kind of right in our forefront, and it can be really overwhelming. So when we look at the items in our inbox, it might seem like a really good deal, but let's take a minute to think: do you really need this item? Is it something that's going to benefit you and your family? And then the bigger question, if you find that you are overwhelmed and that a lot of spending can lead to debt, is do you need to unsubscribe from some of these options so that they're not right in your face? This is very much like when we used to go to the store. You make a purchase, you get to the cash register, and the cashier asks, would you like to save 20% today by signing up for a credit card? So we want to think about those options. We might not be experiencing that same type of interaction, but in some ways, the items that show up in our inbox can lead us to doing some of those same actions and behaviors that ultimately can lead us into debt unnecessarily if we decide to get the credit card and end up spending and purchasing things that we normally would not purchase. So our next tip, we really want to think about how you can manage your expectations. So small and virtual gatherings was also something that was mentioned when asked about how COVID is going to change your holiday. Maybe that is the direction that you want to move in. And with those small and virtual gatherings, there is the opportunity to spend less money. Um, Depending on what your perspective is, you might be from the glass half full, that maybe this is something that's going to help you out, that you don't have to expend as much time and energy going to other types of events that you normally would. Even thinking about activities that are work related, sometimes they can become very overwhelming. If you're doing a gift exchange, if you're doing a holiday get together, maybe there's something in your neighborhood. I think during the holidays and our normal times, there are just so many options available to us, and you want to participate in everything, but you might not really have the time or really have the funds to really expend. So think about this time as perhaps a time that you might be able to slow down a little bit and not necessarily feel you have to participate in everything. Also want to encourage you to think about resisting the urge to. I put the blank there really for you to fill out, but think about overspending or even splurging, because both of those things can lead to debt. But as we know, 2020 has been a challenging year so far. And the tendency to overspend may be because of a certain situation. You may feel like, since I can't be with my family this year, or it's really been a tough year. The kids, they really have suffered, and maybe you had a graduate who really didn't get a chance to celebrate the way you would like to. So we often might find ourselves, saying the kids deserve it, or even I deserve it, so that we may tend to make the commitment to spend more than what we normally do. And in that case, that sometimes can also lead us to unneeded debt. We want to think about alternative gift giving ideas. This would be a great time to think about, have you ever said, I'm going to make my gifts this year? Well, maybe this is the year because perhaps you have a little more time on your hands, and maybe it's jellies, jams, or a baked good, or maybe you're a crafty person who can really make some things. And I think this is a really good option, particularly for kids, making coupons or gift certificates for a service or some special time together at some point. Like babysitting, or even a car wash, cleaning the yard, things like that, gift baskets. And you can even think about following up with some type of a name exchange, even in large families where prior to the pandemic, some people might have done a name exchange so that you have a specific gift that you're buying for a specific person as opposed to everyone. So these are just some alternatives to consider in terms of gift giving that ultimately can save you some money. And you want to think about these when you set up that spending plan. Well, during pandemic or not, there definitely are stressors that come up that make the holidays a little more difficult to deal with. So know what your stressors are in terms of time and money. So we've already talked a little bit about shopping. So maybe it's not going to be as chaotic this year because perhaps you're not out and the crowds aren't what we normally would expect. But then there's some things that have still changed. Excuse me, some things that are still the same, such as our routines can still be disrupted. So we've seen with, even though more of us are at home and you're at home working with the kids and having helping them with school, there's still things that you have to do. So our time is still, we're still being pulled in many directions. Um, so know what those stressors are for you so that you can really identify them and then think about ways that you can deal with it. I should have mentioned this earlier, but one of the biggest concerns that many of us might have is really related to having a reduced income compared to what we are used to. That spending plan will really help identify those places that you can make changes in order to accommodate, have the type of holiday based on what your resources are. And one way to help us get ready for the holidays, if particularly if we do have reduced income, is think about using a savings challenge. So this is a savings challenge that allows a person to save $100 in a 30-day period of time. So we have November right around the corner. November has 30 days. And the way this savings challenge works is that you will deposit or set aside a certain amount of money for specific days. So in the chart, you can see, hopefully you can see, for days 1 through 4, you would deposit $1. When you get to day 5, you're going to, I'm sorry, day 6, you're going to actually add $2 more. So as you see the amounts accumulate, you aren't going to save more than $5 on any one day. And so some people might think, oh, a dollar here, a dollar there, but those dollars add up very quickly. And particularly if you're in a situation where you're not working in your office every day, and maybe there's some things that change. You're not stopping for coffee, you're not going to a vending machine, you're not going out for lunch every day. This might be an opportunity to set those funds aside. And then at the end of 30 days, you will have $100 that you can devote towards your holiday spending, or maybe some other goal that you might have. And then you want to try to relax and enjoy the holidays, whatever you choose to do. Look for those outlets for stress, recharging your spirit. I think this one is really important, thinking about practicing patience and slowing down. Um, and then lastly, I would say perhaps you want to think about starting a new tradition in your household because the pandemic has really made it very challenging for us to maybe challenging for people to get together. Maybe start a new tradition in your home. Think about what really is important to you. What are the priorities for you and your family so that you can really take the time to use the way you see fit. One of the things we constantly hear is that since the virus has caused us to be at home more often, people are really enjoying being at home with their family. They're able to do things in ways that they haven't before. So I think that this really does provide an opportunity for us to think about how we can continue to enjoy our families and perhaps look for some new traditions to start, and that might include different ways that we're spending during the holiday season. And then as I wrap up, I really like this thought here that we really want to think about collecting moments and not things. What is, once again, your priority for the holidays? Your priorities and your overall goals should ultimately drive how you use and how you spend the funds, the money you have available to you. Don't feel like we have to be in a competition. We shouldn't think of the holidays as a competition where we look at who can buy the best gifts or who might be able to serve the nicest dinner, who has the best tree. Some people, look for that holiday spread on the table. Think about it as not being in competition, but really think about it about making the holidays about creating those lasting memories and enjoying time with your loved ones and with your family, or simply enjoying time by yourself. And the way we can get to that is by really looking at our funds available to us, our budget, making a plan, and then realistically following through on that so that we don't end up in a position where we may have debt following us into the new year. And that's not a great way to start the year. And I'm going to stop there. And if there are any comments or questions, Crystal, I'm happy to try to answer those.
Thanks so much, Kim. Lots of food for thought, lots of great ideas shared there. And as others, if you want to post some things that you're going to do in the chat box, and we can learn from each other. Kim mentioned making, and somebody early on said they're a maker and they like to make gifts. So I was saying, we stopped doing gift exchange with my husband's siblings and, my siblings, because you've got kids and it just kind of spans out. But this came in the mail. If you guys can see this. This came in the mail to us, and there's an M for Mackie. This came in the mail to us this week, and it was from his sister. And when I said, there's a big box here, and it's from your little sister, there's 6 of them. And he was like, my sister? I was like, yeah, this is yours. This is from your sister. And it was this, and she had made this. And so, of course, we immediately got her on the phone because it just touched us so much that she would take the time to do something like that. And we called and actually found out she made one for all of the siblings. It has drums on it as a decoration. My husband is a drummer. So there's drums on it. It has red, which is, if you see the background, it's my husband and I both share the same favorite color, which is red. So she had really taken the time to do that. And I said, it would have been amazing to receive a card, a gift card. That would have been amazing, and we would have been super grateful. But there's just something about the love that we felt knowing that she took the time to make this and make this specific for our family. So I just thought I would share that out. So, and Kim, there's a lot going in here.
Yeah.
I just
Herman, help me.
yeah, I was just looking at some of a couple of the chats. I think the it was sounds very interesting, the lip sync battle. there are really some creative things here. And I think what we have to think about is really, it's the connection, how we can figure out how to stay connected. And sometimes money does help us stay connected, but that's not the only way. And I
Yeah.
think that there are definitely some very interesting ideas that people are doing this year.
And I was surprised how they get into it, but my wife and her granddaughter will cook together, but she'll be cooking at her house and my wife's cooking at our house, and they're making the same thing, and so as they go along, it's almost like she's in here, with us making the dish, so you might have to put the phone up, where they can see, or say, hey, look at this, and share some things that way, this season, to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of that. And I mean, we honestly, certainly the technology makes it easy for us to do that. And I think that does help people stay connected, definitely, because you
Yeah,
can do it together.
that's right.
For sure. I've heard a lot of people say they've been doing that, and I think we can certainly do more of that as we try out like different, recipes and things like that. That could be a really nice way to stay connected. I'll say one thing we did last year, which is it wasn't even a pandemic, but we did it. I'm like, we should do that again this year. Is we try to hold to a Friday family fun night because we're busy lives, and so we try to stick together and do a family fun night thing on Fridays. And last year, my daughter came up with this challenge. She's 11. She came up. She said, "Why don't we do for family fun day? Why don't we do a decorating challenge?" And so everybody had, like, I think it was a $3 budget. So everybody had a $3 budget. So we went to the Dollar Tree with our $3 budget, and you could use what was at home, but you could also use your $3 budget, and came home and used our $3 budgets to decorate our desk for the holidays. So you had, $3 to buy whatever, and then you could use whatever was at home. And it wasn't a competition, like there wasn't a winner, but everybody just kind of used their own creativity and decorated their desk. And it was kind of a fun, like, it was really cool. So I'm thinking we might do something like that again this year and maybe extend it out. And, Herman, like you were saying, get people on video and have something. Because now, if you got kids, they have a desk or they have some kind of workspace at home. But just to kind of share out, what many people were saying in the chat box was the experiences and the family connection is really what's most important. So
Yes. And I
Yeah,
saw that someone asked about what I think tip 8 was, and tip 8 was the savings challenge. And I'm going to send those items to Crystal, so she'll send out for people to view and use and consider.
yeah, that spending budget thing was good too. Is that available in a little like PDF or something that you can plug your numbers in and it'll calculate it for you, or how does that work?
It's a PDF. I don't think it's active like that, but you can probably do that. We could probably figure out doing that. And there are also other types of challenges or spending charts like that that you can that will help you keep track a little easier.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I'll definitely share that with Crystal to share out with the group.
Okay, great.
and I will send that out along with the recording to this session and any other tools that Kim says might be really good resources for us. So we've come to our time, our ending time. It always comes so fast, but I want to thank everybody for being here today, for engaging in the conversation. Thank you, Kim, for helping us to be mindful about our money and our spending as it shifts a little bit this year. Everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your time. Give some thought to what you're going to do, what your traditions might be. And I really appreciate the conversation in the chat around really prioritizing the things that are of most importance. I think we have a new opportunity to do that this year as things have to shift anyway. So thank you.
Can I just give a plug real quick?
Yes.
Kim brought up the fact about support your local businesses. I know a lot of local businesses are struggling right now, so support your local business if at all possible. Get out there and a lot of them have ways you can support them online too. So the small business, private owned businesses, they really need you this year.
All right. Thanks.
All right, thank you too.